How has the current political climate been affecting your emotional well-being?
So I do a great job tuning things out. And as you know, 2020 has just been everything that could potentially go wrong in society has gone wrong this year. Being in the CBD business, we do speak to a lot of customers that have been affected greatly, emotionally, especially with the political climate, the social unrest that's happening all around the country. So personally, I haven't experienced anything on my end, nor my family, but I do have a lot of close friends. That it's been a tough year for them and their family, especially not the word safety. It's a big word this year that, what can I say? It's a word that a lot of people are looking for. Um, Especially, I've spoken to a lot of mothers who have um, minority children that really don't feel safe sending their kids out to the grocery store, um, even a bike ride down the street, because you never know if that's the last time that their child's gonna leave the house. So things like that, it's very sad that the greatest country in the world, it's 2020 and we're still talking about the same issues that we've been talking for centuries. It's just sad. We need more people like us to stand up, get our voice heard, because that's the only way that things are going to change. Actions are a big thing. So again, 2020 has been emotionally scarring for all of us. Um, I do a good job turning off the TV. I don't follow the news. I try to stay away from social media as much as possible, because there's so much misinformation out there that the real information is being hidden from. I have friends that send me links. Hey, you heard this, but when you look into the links, it's like, hey, this information is not truthful. So you really got to stand up and tell these people, even close friends, hey, stop spreading this information out because it's not helping; it's just damaging. Um, so I'm ready for 2021 because 2020 it's been rough. It's been very rough.
As an immigrant, have you experienced discrimination? And if so, how has that affected your day to day life?
So me being Dominican, I mean, you hear jokes growing, as from a young age, you're gonna, take our jobs. You're, why did you come to America? You, but personally, I haven't experienced too much discrimination personally. But again, I've known way too many people have been discriminated on by police officers, um, a lot, in my past employment, where, individuals of colors are being passed over, um, for no apparent reason. That's one of the big issues. I quit my 9 to 5 after 12 years working in finance. I saw way too many friends that have put years into becoming better in their crafts and getting passed over and over for no apparent reason. Um, it's not right. It's not fair for these individuals that have their backs against the wall already to fight even harder just to be on the same playing field as others. So it's going to happen. It's always going to be there, especially in corporate America, where you're just a number, um, and it's not going to change. So I've had enough. I mean, personally, I've been skipped over many, many positions for no apparent reason. Um, a lot of my friends and colleagues are dumbfounded on why I didn't get it. And, example, interviewed for a position, someone that had 5 years less experience than I have. So discrimination is always going to be there. It's being hidden in different forms, which is the scary thing. That discrimination out there is not as black and white anymore. It's actually it's very hurtful. It really is. Especially, I've worked with the migrant community out in Williamson, in Wayne County, where these, farm workers, all they want to do is work hard, make money, send it back to their families in Mexico, Guatemala, Haiti, and just live life. But they're being scared by, ICE is always on the prowl. And, these hardworking people sometimes, sleep 10 to 15 people in one small room just to save money. They work from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Um, I'm only asking for people to respect these individuals. They're not here to take over the US, take our jobs. I always tell a friend of mine that always say, hey, aren't Mexicans taking our jobs? Well, if you want to wake up at 4 in the morning and go to the farm and pick apples all day, by all means, that is work that we don't want to do. That is work that these hard immigrants are doing. And we have to take our time and appreciate the apples that we're buying at Wegmans, how many hands, hardworking hands, have touched those apples for you to consume. So that's all I got to say about discrimination. Let's respect one another. We all work hard. And if we just come together, I mean, we could do great things.
I agree. And I think especially like Americans, particularly white Americans, tend to forget that America was literally built from immigration. Like that's how our country started. So immigration is not something we should devalue. It's something that we should highly value because we're all just trying to make it like our ancestors were. Well, so yeah, it's kind of like forgetting the Americanness of our country.
Well, America was built by immigrants. Mm-hmm. We, not too long ago, we sometimes just seem to forget how this great country of ours, how far we've come. So now we're turning our backs on these immigrants that just want to live the good old American dream and making it tougher for them to get documentation or personally, my father has been having issues trying to get back into the country during the visa process. Trump has made it almost impossible for US citizens like myself to request their parents overseas just for a travel visa. You have these parents that all they want to do is spend the holidays with their children here. They just want to spend a month or two, head back, but that's being taken away from us as a US citizen. My father has been going through the process for 3 years. It's a long, expensive process. And this year has been a wash. Trump has, placed a couple of regulations where there's no more accepting of foreign nationals. Hopefully January 1st comes along and that is lifted. But just imagine, a child who has a sick parent overseas really can't bring that parent here for better health care or children for better education. So a land of immigrants, I mean, we have to stand up and realize that this is the reason why America is so great is because so many backgrounds have built us.
What Dominican traditions and values do you honor that are not typically found in American culture?
Living a simple life, simplicity. I remember growing up in the Dominican Republic of just how simple things are. You put your family first, food second, and music third. Well, God in there somewhere. But it's just how simple, how happy they are. I've been fortunate to be, travel to 15 different countries. And I always say there's a beauty in poverty. And a lot of people ask me, what do you mean? It's when you don't have anything, family is everything to you. Those individuals that are always there, friends and family, are your number one priority. Here in the States, we wrap ourselves around what car we have, where we live, and to some girls, how big my wedding ring is, So those are the traditions that I miss in the Dominican, waking up Saturdays, visiting family, eating all day. But here in America, we just seem to work 9 to 6 every day, cook dinner for an hour, watch a show, got to redo it all over again. So you could easily go down the street and get the best Dominican food. You could go to Wegmans, get mangoes, avocados. So culturally, you could find it here. There's niches, but again, it's just the feeling of just being in the Dominican Republic, being around. Dominicans are very happy people. Where there's music, there's always a party. Um, it's funny, you would go to a family's friend's house, and then the neighbors brings the rice, the other neighbor brings the beans, someone brings the avocado. So it's a community, which you sometimes don't have here in the States. Everything is about me, me, me. We've become a society that, we worry about ourselves more than others. Um, and that's another reason I decided to pursue the CBD aspect of things, is because I want to help. Um, I don't want to be just another number, wasting, letting all this around us affect my families and friends. Sometimes you got to stand up and, you know, have your voice heard for those who don't have one.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's really, as you have mentioned, that the US is very like individualist culture, whereas other countries are much more collectivist. So taking into consideration that and then adding coronavirus on top of it now, I feel like that's really a lot of the reason why we all feel so isolated and so alone, because we've already sort of isolated ourselves just because of how our culture runs, because it's go, 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 work, and that's it kind of thing. And I take care of myself, and even families, we have limited ourselves to our own sort of little like two parents and then the kids, and we have to take care of ourselves. And I think that's much different than how other countries handle things too. But yeah, so that's been, I don't know, just an interesting thought with everything going on right now too.
Yeah, it's a bubble that we create without subconsciously. It's just, my sister lives in Brooklyn currently, and she lives there alone, and she has no friends. Well, I can't say she doesn't have any friends. She doesn't have, friends that are local. So, she doesn't have friends or family. So isolation is really affecting her. Um, and she's one that turns on the news from the morning to night. So all this political unrest and social unrest is just affecting her just tremendously. So um, this is a time where, like those relationships, us as, me as a brother or my parents have to reach out and just make sure she's okay.
Yeah. And backtracking a little bit to what you were saying about like having that sense of community, like when like American culture versus like DR culture, um, where it's kind of, I don't know, I would say that I guess just like going abroad in a lot of places, like there's this sense of just like, there's like a different comfort level of things. Like it's more kind of lax in some spots, and it's not so weird to like go talk to your neighbor and like introduce yourself, whereas here, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like sometimes, like your neighbors don't want to talk to you. Whereas, like when I studied abroad in Berlin, my apartment complex, like the woman who was there she wanted to have a garden party and invite all the tenants, and just like, and she was, she said, everyone bring a dish to pass. And I mean, I didn't speak a lot of German, but it still was something that I'm like, I've never experienced this in any apartment complex back home that I have like been to. And it was just something cool and something different. And I felt like welcome. Whereas here, sometimes, I'm not saying everywhere, but you kind of, sometimes it can feel a little bit more cold. Yeah, there's a warmth to it.
A country that we have so much here in the United States, but we lack so much on the important things, and that's family and just solid friendships. Like I mentioned, when I said there's beauty in poverty in, most countries that I go to, that's why the people are just so happy. They don't know any better. They don't know a newer car. They don't know, it's sad when I've gone to houses in the Dominican Republic and there's no running water or electricity, but these people are as happy as they can be. They have so little, but are willing to give so much to their neighbors. Many times I've heard the neighbors say, "Hey, do you have beans that I could borrow?" It's like, where do you hear that? And they're gladly willing to give them whatever they have, because again, it's that sense of community that we go back to. It's we're all in it together. And here in America, we do a great job dividing one another. Um, I feel like we take one step front, 2,000 steps back. Uh, so us coming together and staying strong is the only way that we're gonna make anything happen here in the States. So it's hard, but I know we could definitely do it.
What was your experience coming to the US at such a young age, and did you face any challenges adapting once you arrived?
So I came when I was 5, and I was so on the plane. I was like the happiest little kid. We got in the cockpit, spoke zero English. My sister and I still talk to this day. You know, it's just 2 kids. You know, my parents send us with a hostess. You know, you pay them $200. They send you off. They'll give it to whoever. And I just remember them speaking some language, and we're saying yes to everything. And all of a sudden, all these cookies and milks and everything. So it was just like, it was different. You know, I remember my first Happy Meal when I was 5. You know, and I asked my dad, you know, why is there so many white people around here? You know, I've never seen in the Dominican Republic, you've never seen, you know, a white man or a white woman. And my dad told me, shh, don't say that too loud. So I didn't realize. It was a lot of culture shock. Wasn't too much of a language issue because I was so young that you could pick up English pretty quickly. I was a very observant kid, so I would be very quiet. You know, my mom laughed. She's like, "You waited till now to talk so much." So I'll be quiet. I will observe. And the culture here was just it shocked me that it was just so fast. It was such a cold culture. You know, like you said, you couldn't really. My parents told me, "Hey, don't go knock on your neighbor's house." I was used to it in the Dominican Republic. I would go into any neighbor's house. I would say I'm tired, and they would give me a couch to sleep on. So that was a big difference. Just knowing new barriers. You know, it's simple and it's funny. But if you see all my baby pictures, I'm like walking around the neighborhood like with a mango in his closeness. You know, so here say, hey, when you go outside, you have to have clothes on, or so it's things like that that an islander, you know, had to get accustomed to. School was very difficult as well. You know, I could remember the teachers down in the Dominican vaguely caring a little bit more, and not saying that teachers don't care. It's just they're under so much pressure from the states that it's tough for them to generally teach our future, especially with a lot of budget cuts. You know, I graduated here from the Rochester City School District. As we know, they have been doing horrible for far too long, which has made everything very difficult. You know, there's a lot of, with the political unrest and things like that, it was just tough to learn and go through the inner city. I was, you know, fortunate enough to go to Nazareth College right after, where I graduated with my bachelor's. So I'm living the American dream. I can't complain. I've gone through so many obstacles growing up, and it started with the move from the Dominican Republic to here, which I'm very thankful for. Not many individuals have that same luck, especially trying to get in around, you know, trying to get a visa into the US nowadays is almost impossible. So, you know, if you do well, the American dream will follow. That's what I tell all my friends. You got to stay consistent, positive, and you have to be passionate with what you do at the end of the day.